All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining me. We're going to, I know some of you may even be on vacation. I know a lot of people are about to be on vacation, so appreciate you taking the time to join us today. And I'm going to run through some things. 2020 has been an interesting year, to say the least, but it's time is going to keep on moving, and we got to just adapt and adjust our strategies as we go, and that's about all we can do. So I'm going to try to run through some things from a today's going to be kind of a higher level overview of just kind of what we're seeing that's working, what we're doing for our clients that's working, and hopefully you guys can leave today with a kind of a plan of action on how to take your restoration company to the next level next year and continue to grow like we all want to do. So we're going to cover several things, but we're going to do a little bit of goal setting, specific to your company. I mean, you guys might be doing some personal goal setting, family goal setting, however you do it. Maybe some of you don't. I do recommend. It's always nice to kind of reset and just think about what you want in life and what you want from your business, and all areas of your life. But we're also, and then we're going to talk about 3 fundamentals to marketing success. We're going to talk about a little bit of website conversion and what's working now. We're going to talk about some trends on kind of what we're seeing, as far as the future of internet marketing goes in 2021. And then we're going to try to come up with an action plan where you guys can kind of leave here with, a plan, right? You want to hit the January 1's, man, it's next week. I can't believe that. But, we want you to leave here with some action steps and not, just fluff and stuff. But I'm going to, like I said, time is valuable. So I appreciate you guys showing up. I'm trying to run through this. I mean, this could be a half day, full day workshop, really, if you wanted to, but obviously I'm not going to do that. Try to keep this, anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour. That way you guys can keep working or hanging out with your family if you're already doing that. And we'll roll in there. So, for you guys to get the most out of it, if you want to, just silence your cell phones. Hopefully you got, most of you guys are probably 24/7. Hopefully you got somebody. I want to make sure I'm actually doing that myself, just to try to give you guys as much value as I can today. So I do recommend taking some notes and any thoughts you guys have or plans of action. And I do have a workbook too. I'll get you guys here in a minute. I think I did have another technical error on that, but I'll get you that link here in a second to where you can download that. And if you guys do stay until the end, I'm also got a couple resources for you guys. I got a checklist I put together of kind of all the things. Well, there's a million things you could be doing, but what we see that's most important to help you grow your restoration company year over year, and we pay attention to what our most successful clients are doing and what we're doing for them, and that's what I want you guys to be able to walk away with. So I'm gonna give you guys the link to where you can download that as well, here at the end. I do recognize a few names on here, so got welcome guys. Rodney, hope all's well. See you on there. Rob, I think many of us have spoke before, so glad to see you guys on here. This isn't about me, but just real quick for any of the newer people. Grew up in construction, used to run jobs, and in the commercial, $1 million, used to run projects, $1 million, $2 million range. For a while before I started this company, and I worked more on the general contracting side, and then we kind of just, for whatever reason, ended up having a couple restoration clients. I like the industry. The guys we work with are awesome, so just that's how I kind of decided to focus the company specifically on restoration for now, just because it's a great industry. And now we've worked with hundreds over the years, just all across the country. It's interesting too, because as you guys know, every market, every city is a little bit different. So, and this is what we do. This is just some client reviews we've gotten. I mean, obviously we love to help restoration companies grow their business. All this is a means to an end, and that's usually the main goal. Now let me share real quick. Let me grab this link. That was another technical error we had. Let me get you the workbook link. All right. So if you guys can find the chat, I just put a Google Drive link to a PDF. Now you should be able to click it. Now you're probably in the top right corner. You're probably gonna have to click download, but you should be able to download it to a PDF. Did that link work, or are some of you guys able to download the book? Somebody put a 1 in the chat. Let me know you got it. All right. Colleen's got it. So yeah, and if you guys are having trouble, it's probably because, well, you could just leave that tab open on your browser. But if you go to the top right hand corner, there should be a, download, and you have to go to your downloads folder. Yeah, Colleen's right. You just got to download it. But you can, it's fine. Well, you guys can just pay attention to the screen if you can't get it, and I'll make sure I can email it out to you guys after that. So let's keep on going. So usually, well, what I want you guys to think about is like, what's the hardest part about marketing your damage restoration business online? And I mean, sometimes, I still, well, I think with COVID, I'm not going to get this as much, but some restoration companies are still, they don't think that you can get jobs from the internet, and only from your boots on the ground. And I'll never forget, I had a call with a guy in January, and he decided not to. He's just not a believer in internet marketing for restoration companies yet, right? Well, I think he called me back in April, and he was like, "Damn, Jamie, if you weren't right," because I was like, "Where's your boots on the ground person now?" And he's like, "In quarantine, on lockdown." And it's just, I don't know. It's even before COVID. I mean, the internet is here to stay. I mean, it's 2020, about to be 2021. Like, it's Google's, slowly taking over the world. Facebook as well. I mean, we got to play in the sandbox. I mean, otherwise you're going to get left behind 100%. I think there's a place for boots on the ground people 100%, but I think all restoration companies to get to the next level need to be, investing in their online presence. But, a lot of owners are just not really sure what to do, with their funds and what's the best use of their funds. So, as we look at this, we're still tweaking this wheel too. Actually, we've recently come up with this, but there's a lot of things that you need to take into account when you think about your business from an online perspective, right? There's reviews, there's SEO, pay-per-click, social media, hosting. I mean, it can get overwhelming, right? And it can be a major investment. So in your company or in your marketing, so you want to make sure that you're getting results. And what we see is there's, companies are spending money, but there's not much to show for it. And then that, just kind of ends up with a fail and where we don't want to be. And you underspend or overspend and just underperform, on a month-over-month basis. Now, we do have an opportunity. And again, this is more high level. We're going to get into more of the detailed stuff here in a little bit. But I think if because I need to do, I've started this on our company, but we really need to think about like what are we trying to accomplish, where are we trying to go, and then reverse engineer how to get there. I think that's a concept that's overlooked, many times, and just, whether it be personal goals or business goals. Like, all right, what am I trying to accomplish? Like, am I just trying to like do a job here and there? Or am I really trying to get to $1 million a year business? 5 million. I think we really need to, think about what the goals are for the business. And then you got to reverse engineer to figure out how many leads you need to, to keep your crews and your trucks running to hit those goals. And then ultimately you want an ROI, right? You put in $1, and then you get back 3 is how I like to explain it. That's why, some people still, and I get it, like before I understood this, they're scared about paid advertising, but I look at it as like an ATM, like, because we do it ourselves. Like if you put in $1 and it gives you back 2, like why would you ever turn that off? Like once somebody explained it to me that way, I'm like, wow, you can't look at it as you're spending money. It's you can't, there's not many things. If you put your money in the bank these days, you're getting like a 0.001% return. Like it's literally, it's nothing, right? But if you invest in your marketing correctly, you could put in $1, and even like, I mean, sometimes you get back $5. You put in $1, you get back 5. Like, I mean, that's when you scale and you load up. Then you put in 10, you can get back 50. I mean, that's a little bit. I mean, that's scaling, but I just like to drive that point home, because I think once that clicked in my mind, it changed my perspective on marketing and paid advertising as a whole, because it just makes sense. And then that'll allow you guys to hit your goals for 2021. So let's kind of run through this. Let's kind of drill back down to the basics and set some goals for 2021. And this is a fun. I don't know if you guys have heard of Brian Tracy or not, but he has a quote that I kind of like: "Success is goals, and all else is commentary." Right? Because if you don't have goals, this could be a bad example, but I'm gonna do it anyway because it's on the screen. But if any of you have ever sailed before, I mean, you have to know where you're going. Then you have to adjust the mast and the sails, etc., to get from point A to point B. And if you don't, then you're going to end up going in circles. You're not even going to go anywhere. You got to have a target to hit. And if you have, a clear target, a clear goal, that's like having wind in your sails and your sailboat. You can get from point A to point B. And we all know it's not going to be perfect, right? You have to adjust and adapt as you go. And just a quick little study too. This is awesome. I remember when I read this, I never forgot it, because there's a Harvard study saying that it's a few years ago now, but in 1979, 84% of the class had no specific goals. 13% had goals but not written down. 3% had clear written goals and plans to accomplish them. Now, the 13% who had goals were earning on average twice as much as the other 84%. Now, the 3% who had written down goals with a plan of action, on average, 10 times as much as the other 97% put together. I mean, it's unbelievable. And it's just like, they say that, I don't know the stat, but 1% of the population controls the world's wealth. I mean, there's a reason, right? I mean, these people, they're obviously, they didn't fall into stuff. They map it out. They come up with a plan of action. They learn from people who are getting results that they want to get, and they just follow suit, right? Like, I think we all make it more complicated sometimes than it needs to be. But it's sticking to it too, right? I'm not trying to make it sound like it's easy, but writing it down can have huge benefit to it. And this is just kind of, I mean, this is simple. There's a lot of different ways to do this, but we're gonna try to keep this. There's a saying: complexity is the enemy of execution, right? So I want you guys, walking away, being able to implement some of this. So we want to keep it simple. 1 year, quarter, month. You can even break it down into week. I kind of like weekly because it's more, the more you can break it down, the better. But I would start with this just kind of, higher level, like what are your goals for 2021? So, I think about what is your revenue target. If some of you are doing 1 and you want to do 1.5 or 2 next year, I mean, just take a second to kind of think about that. And then what we want to do is reverse engineer it. Now, actually, I put together a quick example. So let's say you want to do 1.5 next year. So you need to do 125,000 per month, right? And then and this is going to be a little bit different for all you guys. The restoration companies we work with, their average ticket varies, right? Some it's 4, some it's 3. We're just going to use average water damage job, dry out 3,500, right? I know it's not exact. Adjust this for your particular company. So that would come out to be 35 jobs a month is what you need in 2021 to do approximately 1.5 in revenue. Now, if you do the rebuild and put back, this might need to be adjusted. Some of you guys will do mitigation only. Some of you might only do mold only. So just keep that in mind. But this is because then instead of thinking, each month you can be like, I need 35 jobs. I need 35 jobs. How am I going to get those? So the next thing is, all right, we know we need 35 jobs. How many leads are we going to get? So to reverse engineer that, let's say you guys are closing at 70%. I mean, this will vary because not every call will be a good lead, but on the good leads, hopefully you guys are closing 70, 80, 90%, especially on the emergency water job. I mean, some of these you just have to show up, right? I mean, I've I've listened to some call recordings of our clients, and we've had to coach them a little bit, but hopefully you guys are closing 70, 80, 90%, especially if you show up onto the job. But let's just assume 70%. We need 35 jobs. So to hit that target, in this particular example, we need 50 leads. So now, we started at 1.5. Now we reverse engineered it. We need 50 leads a month to hit that 1.5 in 2021. I just think this is a great way of thinking about it, and reverse engineering kind of, how you're going to get there. And actually, I did put together a Google sheet. Let me grab. Hopefully this will work. I'm going to put this in the chat too. I put together a Google sheet where you guys can play with this. And you can play with it some now or after. Like I said, this probably should be a half day event, maybe full day, to really set your goals for next year so you guys can finish this out. Now you're going to have to hit download copy or something, but this is the Google Sheet. Hopefully it should open up. And I can just do it real quick with you guys to see. Yeah, so click make a copy, and then it should pop open another tab, and you guys should have access to this worksheet I put together for you. Let me just see. Yeah. All right. So yeah, there's that worksheet for you. I put together some. You guys can kind of play with it. I mean, it's kind of cool, honestly. If it's just because you can kind of see what you have to do as far as number of leads. And here, maybe I can. Let me move this over. So if you see that this is the first tab here, and so as you can see, this is another 1.5 example. So you can, if you hover over the cell, I don't know how familiar you guys are with Google Sheets or not. I mean, it's similar to Excel, but don't change anything that has a formula in it. So wherever the white is on, for example, is where you want to fill in on this sheet. So if you want to do 1.5, you need to do 125 a month, right? Then some of you might your average job might only be 3,000, right? So you put that in here. So then you need 42 jobs a month to hit your goal. And if you're only closing at 50%, you need 83 leads a month. And then you can also put in the average cost per lead, average cost per generated lead, and then like a budget required to hit the target. I mean, you're gonna have to either you're gonna have to spend money with your time, your people, into your marketing. I mean, you got to pay to play a little bit with some sort of resource, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be monetary resource. It could be time, but you're gonna have to figure out a way to get the 83 leads per month. Or you can. Sometimes it is easier to just invest in your budget to hit that number, right? So you can kind of play with this here. Man, I was putting together this too that you guys can play with, you guys probably already have this set up for your companies, but you can play with your online budget, offline budget, referral business. I mean, this won't be exact to your, to your situation, but you can tweak this and play with these numbers and kind of break it down to a monthly. You see what you need to, what your budget needs to be per month for 2021 to hit your goals. So I really try to break this down for you guys. And so you can even break it down further into SEO, PPC, Facebook retargeting. I mean, whatever you guys are looking to invest in 2021, you can kind of play with these numbers and the budgets here to figure that out. And also, you can play with the average cost per lead. If you're currently working with a marketing company, they can help you figure this out. If not, then you'll just have to, just look at how many leads you're getting and how much you're spending on marketing and basically divide it out. And then, you can play with the average transaction values here for mold, water. I don't have fire. Some of our clients do remodel. I mean, there's a lot of things you can add in here, but make it specific to your business. So I'm not going to run through all these tabs, but I put together some tabs on here that you guys can really, do a deep dive and really think about this and think about how you're going to, hit those goals that you have set for. So hopefully that resource will be useful for you guys. You can kind of play with it. So, all right. So hopefully that made sense. Hopefully you guys kind of ran through that quickly, but you kind of figured out at least like, all right, this is how many leads I need each month to hit my revenue target. And after, like I said, later today, this weekend, over the holidays, whenever, you guys can spend some more time playing with this, more specific to your business. So again, I would keep that number in mind. Start thinking about different ways you're going to hit that target. So now we kind of need to move on to the fundamentals, right? So we know we need leads, but we need to know, who, what, and how we're going to get those leads. So the first part is kind of looking at the who, right? Who is your ideal customer? For some of you guys, you might be mold only. Some, a lot of our clients are kind of the bread and butter, water, fire, mold. And then, some do rebuild, some don't. Some of our clients have separate divisions that do construction, remodel. I mean, every, teach his own, right? But just think about who is your ideal customer for that specific service. You guys might, in the marketing world, this is called a customer avatar sometimes. Like, who is this person? I mean, you can even, I've seen people take it as far as, naming them, right? Like Bob, our ideal customer avatar, whose, home is flooding in a, affluent neighborhood, right? I mean, I'm just making that up, but you got to start thinking a little bit deeper about who your customer is. And so I put together, just some things to think about. That could, this is an example, obviously, but it could be, a homeowner that's married, or the average income is 65 plus, right? That could be, for most of you, the avatar will be a homeowner for sure, versus we all know renters can't, usually they're not authorized to let you do the mold removal or water damage, right? Like a lot of times it's tire kickers, or they're trying to get the landlord in trouble. I mean, I've seen it all. Seen it all these days. So usually a homeowner's better, but getting in with a property management company of an apartment complex is a whole other story. But just something to think about. The demographics of your ideal customer. What are the pains and frustrations? Right, their toilets overflow. They have moles in the wall. Their house is burned down because they had a kitchen fire. Are they too busy to deal with insurance? This is just kind of get your wheels turning on, on what this person looks like. What does Bob look like, or whatever you want to name him? And here's some more, fears and implications. They're gonna be worried about being ripped off or overcharged. They might be worried about getting mold in their home if the home is not properly dried out, right? They could be worried about having to wait, 4 days for the technician to show up. Where a lot of you guys hopefully are are marketing the 60-minute, 45-minute response time or less, right? Like people, if they're standing in water in their house, they don't want to wait around for 4 days for somebody to get there, right? They want somebody who's going to answer the phone first of all, and then get somebody out there to the job as soon as possible. And then they want to get their home back in the like new condition as soon as possible. I know this is kind of high level, but that's kind of what I want you guys to think about instead of just putting your name out there. You got to think about, you want to put your name out there in front of the right people. And there's just a saying, right, that goes with this: if you can see Joe Jones through Joe Jones' eyes, then you can sell what Joe Jones buys, right? I mean, you just got to think about it. Man, it's a mouthful. I don't even know if I'll actually look. It's kind of hard to say, but you want to look at things from the perspective like, what would you want if this happened to you, right? And then you want to get in front of them with that message, right? So that kind of covers the who we're going after. And obviously you need to tweak that for your particular situation. Like if you're more into the mold testing, the air quality thing, then you need to make that customer profile, based on that, right? You're going to be more like a health conscious person that doesn't want, that's more worried about, mold affecting their family and their health, right? Like we've seen, as you guys know, mold can become a pretty big issue if it's not handled appropriately. So now that we know the who, right, we need to look at the message, the what. Like, what are we going to put in front of Bob, our ideal customer, right? So why? So here's like a little exercise you guys can do while we go. So why should somebody choose to do business with you versus the competition? Whether you're an independent, some of you are probably franchises. Like we all know, in every city we've ever worked with across the country, there's competition in this industry, right? It's dog eat dog world, honestly. Like you got to pay to play. Like it can get ruthless, but I mean it's just business, honestly, in general, but especially restoration. Like I'm sure you guys have a lot of competitors you're competing against. Like you independent guys are going against the franchises and the Serpros, the Paul Davises, the Restoration Ones, the Puro Cleans of the world are going against the independents, right? And usually there's some guys that have been around for 40 years in that particular city that you're going up against. So just think about some of the messaging you can use to separate you from those guys that have been around for 50 years. Like that's not the angle you're going to be able to approach. You're going to have to, maybe hit them from the quality perspective, right? Or the response time perspective. And then think about some of the benefits. Like some of you might do, warranties, money back guarantees. Like what kind of benefits can you offer? Certified technicians, most of you probably have that. So just think about what some of the benefits are that you can do. And I mean, I just slapped some stuff down here that you guys can use, and I mean, you can use this on online and offline, right? Like I've seen some of the rap vans and trucks have some of this on it, billboards, commercials. I mean, obviously you want to be leveraging this on the internet too, but a lot of this, adds credibility to your business and will just help with conversions overall. So here's a few things that, are kind of common practice. A lot of you probably offer, but if there's a few examples on here that you're not leveraging, you can think about leveraging on on your website, your paid ads, your Google My Business. Like I said, even if you're doing direct mail or some offline methods, you can maybe split test adding some of these into the copy that you're using. And I mean, again, these are some more condensed versions that you guys can kind of take a look at. And like I said, these are examples. There's a lot more that you can offer than just these. So but here's some to kind of get your wheel turning and kind of get, the ball rolling. So hopefully that kind of helped. And again, I know I'm trying not to be here all day. So hopefully you guys got some, your wheels turning on that. And, you can think about it. So we talked about Bob, right? Or who. We've kind of got him put together. We've got the message put together. So what we're going to say, we've got the message on how we're going to let the Bob know why he should call you instead of the guy down the street, right? So now we need to look at how are we going to get this message to Bob, right? We got to look at the media, which is the how. So how do we put this, in front of them? So we want to send him to a hub that converts, I guess, for lack of a better term. So in the online world, a lot of it starts with your website. It's kind of your foundation. A lot of people are hesitant. They don't, especially with, a lot of these mold, water, fire, or even remodels, it's a major decision they're going to have to make. And it's not like $200, right? This is like usually thousands of dollars worth of work. So they're going to do a little digging on you. And your website kind of speaks to, your expertise. And we've all gone to a website before, and sometimes you just get like an unprofessional, funny feeling and it's nothing against the company. They just haven't. It's just they haven't updated their website, right? But you've gone to some websites, you're like, man, this is professional. This is slick. I really like the messaging they're putting out. Let me give them a call. So I think it's really important to keep that in mind. I mean, you want to and here's just a couple things that I'll skim through some things that if you guys you can almost pull up your website, your own personal website as I go through some of this and kind of see if you're crossing off all these items on your personal website. So let me check something real quick. Sorry, guys. All right, we're good. So again, we just went through the avatar, right? Does it speak to your customer avatar? And something that we really like to put on our customers' sites, and hopefully you guys are doing as well, is real, authentic images of you and your team and your trucks and your vans. Like we've all been to the cookie cutter websites with, the van that just has some copy and pasted graphic on it, to where, you can just tell it's copy and pasted, right? But if you see like real team photos, and I showed you one here. Here's a client site. Like these are, they got all the guys in the shop, got out some tools. Like, here's the owner. This is Corey over here on the right. Like this is a good looking team photo. Like versus that and some, we've all seen the picture where it's a couch just sitting in water, right? Like this adds a little personalization. And this is something else that can help set you apart from the competition. So that's why I have this in bold here. I think this is really important from a conversion standpoint. So think about that. And some of our clients get professional photographers to take these, and that's fine. But if you don't have that, like for speed and just getting it done, I mean, even the iPhones these days and the Android phones, the cameras on them are ridiculous. So it'll be good enough, right? You can just get your team together, take a few pictures, take some job site photos, take some pictures of the trucks and vans, and I'd leverage those on your social media and your websites. And for all the overachievers out there, if you want to add some website videos, you can, right? You can do a welcome video. You can have like a separate video for mold, separate video for water damage, for fire. So you can really, go deep into this if you want. But at a minimum, I recommend the team photos, the authentic, real images of you and your team. Online reviews, I highly, highly recommend reviews. I mean, those, for all of you paying attention to the 3-pack, you do a search. Well, and I can just show you real quick too. Well, I have to move the screen, but you guys know about the reviews, on the Google My Business profile, right? Well, you want to showcase those on your website because some people might not go to the Google My Business profile. They might go to the website. But if you've got good reviews, you want to leverage those big time. Because even if I know how all this game works, right? And but I even look at the reviews before I make a call to a home service provider. Because, if somebody's got 50 reviews, you can get a pretty good feel about the quality of the company you're looking to do business with. So you want to showcase that. Well, first of all, you want to make sure you're getting good reviews. If you're not, that's a whole other problem. But if you are getting good reviews, you want to leverage those big time because we're seeing those become more and more of a conversion aspect for our clients, more and more, month over month. So definitely make sure those are on your website. And the phone number, top right hand corner. A lot of you guys might already know this, but make sure the number's big in the top right hand corner. Make sure there's a web form. Some people, for whatever reason, they don't like to make the phone call. They want to fill out an email form, right? They just want to type it in. So make sure you have that in there for those particular prospects that prefer the email method versus picking up the phone and making the call. Any credibility, if you got an A+ BBB rating, put that on there. If you Home Advisor, Angie's List, no, a lot of our clients use those. From a pay per lead perspective, and they get the Home Advisor Award or whatever those are called. It adds credibility to your site if you can do that. If some of your guys are CRC certified, you can put that little badge on your site, and just kind of lets it makes you seem more authoritative in your market and adds credibility. And then you can leverage those on all pages on their site too. Sometimes I'll see where they only have it like on one little section. Like I would, you can put those in the footer, and that way, no matter what site or what page on your site people are on, they can still see those badges. So that's kind of, I ran those kind of quick. I think in some of these resources I'm going to give you guys, you can kind of go more step by step through this, but I just wanted to show that for you. So hopefully while I was running through that, you were kind of looking at your own site and where maybe there needs some, room for improvement, but those are more of the higher level things to keep in mind. Man, I did want to throw this in here real quick to show you guys. So one thing, this isn't as big a problem in our industry as I've seen in other industries, but if a lead comes in, the phone call needs to be answered. Like you won't believe, I was trying to get a hold of a company the other day. I couldn't, it drives me crazy because if our clients ever did, I would be calling this company. I called 4 times, nobody answered. I was like, if this was a house flood, that's 3. If they do the putback, it could be a $10,000 job they just missed because nobody answered the phone. And from a prospect's mind, they will absolutely go to Serpro or Paul Davis or the next independent contract. They will run through the list all day, every day if nobody answers the phone. So that's first of all, making sure you answer the phone. But a big problem we're seeing too is the follow-up. Once people go out, because if it's not an emergency job, let's say it's a mold removal job, and you have to give them an estimate, and then, Bob wants to just think about it for 2 days or whatever, try to talk to his insurance guy, whatever the case may be. We're seeing that there's kind of a big, there's just a lack of follow-up, and follow-up is so important. So there's interesting stats. I mean, these might vary, right, depending on the service, but if the longer it takes, because like I said, 15 minutes might even be too far, honestly. This should probably be 5 minutes before they go cold. Because they're already on to the next company, right, if you're not answering. But the average customer needs to be followed up 5 to 7 times. This is probably a little less for the water stuff, but for simplicity, let's just call it 5 to 7 times before making the decision, especially for the mold stuff, the things that, if it's a remodel, some of you might do remodel. They might shop it around a little bit, so you have to stay on them. And something else we're seeing is, and because we had a client just the other day, he just couldn't get a hold of a lead, and I was like, well, if you text them, because people aren't answering unknown numbers, and that's becoming more and more common, we've seen. But if you shoot them a text and say, hey, this is Bob with XYZ Restoration, do you need help still or something? A lot of times, be like, oh yeah, sorry, I didn't recognize the number, but yes, we need help. Texting is extremely powerful. It's something we're testing with some clients now. We're going to roll out next year. Is there's softwares and CRMs that you can automatically text and follow up with people. And you can set it up in the queue to do it automatically. You can automatically email them. You can automatically call them. You can automatically text them. And you can set it up 10 times in a row if you want until they respond. And you can set it to where when they respond, you can log in and take over. It's so powerful. So it's basically having an AI bot salesman sitting in front of the computer following up on these leads for you while you're running your company, you're doing your sales calls in person, when we can. Sometimes some states are still closed. I understand but assuming everything opens back up next year, you know what I mean. There'll be more in-person meetings. But so what if? And I just want to show you the example of this follow-up. How powerful it could be. Let's say you're getting 100 leads, you're only converting 30%. So that's 30 jobs. We'll just say for a month, right? So that's a $3,000 average ticket. That's 90 grand a month, right? Like not too shabby for some, but for some, some of you guys that might be a little weak. But so what if you're getting 100 leads and you're converting at 70% versus 30? Look what this does to the numbers. 210,000 a month versus 90, because a follow-up system is in place. Now, yes, this is an example. It might not be exact science, but you can see how powerful it can be just from having a system like this in place, right? It makes every lead way more valuable. And I'll just show you guys something real quick too. And like I said, this is just something to think about next year. Like this might, because we recommend you at least you got to be doing online marketing from a comprehensive approach first, and then you want to look at. So I'm just going to show you guys a quick example. I got to make sure some of this is real leads. So I got to make sure not show up. So this lead came in and it's like, hey, this is where from our store all. We want to make sure you get your estimate scheduled as soon as possible. Here's the thing. If they don't respond, look what happens. When are you available for us to provide an estimate? And then this person texts back, says tomorrow if possible. So this went from a cold lead to boom, they're texting. And then what, I talked to him about this because I was like, man, you texted them back, right? Like, you can't leave these leads hanging. And he's like, no, he goes, I just called him. Like, he chose to just call this person immediately when they texted back. But you can see, so again, they texted. All right, so he's just, see, this time he decided to text to him in the response. And see, on some of these, people will call in. Like, they can even call you to these numbers. I don't know, like I said, not to get on a tangent, but just something to think about as far as, the automatic texting and everything. So again, this guy didn't respond on the first text. So we had it queued up like, hey, you still available? Like, let's do something. And then they said, hello, I'm available anytime, as soon as possible tomorrow. So then boom, they're engaged and they can jump on the lead. So I'm not going to go too much in that, but it's just something that this is where the industry is heading. This is, this is just something to keep in mind because now that, if you're getting leads, the next question is, are we converting those to the best of our ability and turning most of these leads into jobs? And this is where the industry's heading, right? And so we're rolling this out and testing it with some of our clients now to kind of see how powerful it is. And it's, as you can see, it's just to have this stuff automatically queued up. It blows my mind you can even do that. But so that's just something to keep in the back of your mind too, as you think about your plan for next year from a marketing perspective, right? So, I kind of jumped off track a little bit there, but that's, you can tie that stuff into your website too. That's kind of why I think I wanted to discuss that. You can have, where a form, you can have it go into systems like that. If somebody fills in a form fill, remember they go cold within 15 minutes. Well, you could have it where if they do a form fill, it triggers an automatic email. And if you make them give you the phone number on the form, you can turn a form fill into a text message exchange. So that's just something, as far as having a website that converts, that's what I want to show you guys. Like this is where the industry is heading. These are some things that are starting, that we're seeing work now. So, there's probably about 25 things or more you can do to your website. I recommend, if you guys want to narrow down maybe 3 things that you want to get with your team on and look at, It could be as simple as having a big phone number in the top right corner. Make sure the number is clickable too. I see a lot of companies will come to us and I'm like, man, your phone number is not even clickable. So if somebody went to it on a mobile phone, you want to be able to tap the call and a dialer populate, right? We want all of this as a means to an end, which is leads and jobs. You want to make sure they can tap that phone number and populate the dialer, right? Because I mean that could be hurting the conversion rate huge. So hopefully you guys learned a little bit from that. I know I kind of ran through it, and I was gonna say I could just show you real quick too somehow. I don't know how this is a pretty good looking site that we've done recently. And honestly, there's a few things we might even change, but phone number, top right corner. You want it clickable, so where when it's on mobile, they can tap. We've got the branded truck here. Remember the badges for credibility I mentioned? We got different service pages for all the things that they do. Real pictures. I mean, this is real signage. Again, calls to action. Click to call. I mean, that's the way on mobile this could be tapped. Team photos. I mean, this is this probably could be a little bit better team photo, but I like it, right? It works. It gets the job done. And I mean, you can, we've seen some crazy team photos too. But then, why should they? Remember we talked about why should they call them versus somebody else, right? Something you guys should be thinking about. So we want to highlight those on the website. Testimonials, right? We want to have reviews. Like these are real reviews from Google. You want to make sure people can see that. You want to have your service areas, calls. This is just, you don't have to have this, but office location. So that's just kind of to give you guys an idea of stuff to think about. But this is kind of a design that people are really pretty slick little site, but we're not going to go through all that. I just want to I think you guys understand based on that and kind of what I talked about on kind of what we're looking to do and what the goal should be as far as, website built to convert goes. So the next thing we need to talk about, excuse me for a second, is, KPIs, right? We kind of know, like, all right, we're spending some money. We want to know what it's producing. So, I mean, there's a few ways to do this, but, as they're saying, what gets measured, well, it gets managed, right, or gets done. But at a minimum, we recommend putting some call tracking in place. Then that way you can kind of see where the calls are coming from. You can even track. I mean, you could even put together like a Google Sheet dashboard to see how much you spend on marketing, how many calls you're getting. Divide those out. Remember that worksheet we talked about earlier? You can figure out how much your cost per lead is. And as you guys know, it can get pretty expensive in this industry. But I mean, at a minimum, I would say start with the call tracking in place. And I'll just show you. I think I was in here checking on a client earlier. But yeah, I'll just show you, right? So we can see. Well, I can't show the customers. But so we can see here they've gotten 124 calls, including today, so the past 30 days, right? So not too bad in the restoration world. I mean, that's you'll be easy 7 figures plus. But I mean, so this, so we can see that how many calls are they getting, and then here's the interesting part: you can see where the calls are coming from, and this kind of helps us see where that helps us figure out the cost per lead based on source, right? You can do Google My Business direct, Google Ads, SEO, organic, direct. I mean, there's a lot of different ways, and this we can record these calls as well. That way, like I talked about the conversion aspect, we'll check in on these because I mean I've heard people almost blow calls before, and it's I mean these are big jobs. It's what your people say once they get those leads are, is extremely important. So if you have call tracking in place, not only can you monitor where the leads are coming from, but you can listen to the call recordings to make sure you and or your sales team are handling the calls appropriately for converting, at the best. I mean, because some people we see that they just talk too much. They start, I don't recommend, they start talking, contracts and this or that. Like I've literally heard one of our clients almost blow $100,000 job because he was like, he almost scared her off. And I was like, man, you just got to get out there, then close it. You can't, I can talk about this for days. I get that. It gets me fired up, but because it's so important. Like he literally almost lost $100,000 job because he just didn't handle the call appropriately. So that's why, I recommend putting call tracking in place. That way you can keep a pulse on everything. So, we've kind of covered a lot. It's coming up on the hour too, so I'm gonna try to push through this. I don't want to keep y'all here all day. I know you got a lot to do, but we kind of talked about goals for 2021. We've talked about the market, message, and media on how to achieve those goals. We talked about the hub. We want to have a website built to convert, and then we want to track this so we know what's happening and where what's going on. So let's talk about a few trends and as far as 2021 goes. Some of these have kind of been in play, but we're kind of seeing some of them start to ramp up. I think local service ads is kind of rolled out. I think in your city most likely. If you don't see it in your city, it might be because you're in a smaller town, but I'm pretty sure it's pretty much rolled out nationwide at this point. And I kind of showed you guys some of the text message stuff. We're seeing text messaging, back and forth with prospects become more and more relevant. And it kind of seems, people don't really, for whatever reason, don't want to talk on the phone sometimes. They just rather shoot text, right? So that we're kind of seeing that's becoming more and more popular. And then again, this started before, next year. This was just as important this year, but even with COVID and all this stuff, pushing stuff online, like there's more eyeballs on the internet now than probably any time in history. Having an all-in perspective on the internet marketing is become more and more relevant next year. And just to show some of you, if you don't know it, the Google Local Service ad, Google Local Services, Google Local Service Ads. I feel like they've changed the name 14 times on this, but some of you might know it as Google Guaranteed. I know there's a lot of people calling it that, but it's the three horizontal boxes across the top when you do a search. It's not for all keywords, but it's basically Google's pay-per-lead platform, right? So it's just one way of getting leads, and this could be one means of getting the leads, like we talked about earlier. So what has that done to the search results? As you can see, so now we have kind of four big, places for you guys to get in front of and to get as much traffic as you can and to get as much business as you can, right? So we got the Google Local Service at the top. So that's why it's kind of important, because it forces you to the top of the page, right? So people will see it, but I mean, some people still don't click it though because they know it's an ad, right? Some people have their buying preferences. But see, as you can see, it pushes down the Google ads, which still work, but it just pushes it down. And then you got the Google My Business, Google Maps rankings, below that. And then you've got the SEO and organic rankings, the websites and all that below the Google Maps. So, I kind of look at it as the, four big pillars as far as generating leads online and getting more business. So I'll run this real quick for those of you that are new to the Google Local Service ads. Like, you do have to fill out an application. Google will run a background check on you and your employees. I think it'll only be on your employees that are going to go to the job. I don't think it has to be like, if you have 50 people at your company, I don't think you have to do all 50. Just all your techs or service people that'll be going to the job, they're going to have to get a background check. Then you got to submit, your licenses, your insurance, proof of all that. They just want to make sure you're legit company. And then once you're active, again, it's a pay per lead platform. And, we've kind of seen anywhere from $75 to $129 per lead, but the prices will vary by the city and the specific services you go after. And actually, on that note, I think in September, Google's actually changing this to a bidding system, which I'm sure, because I know there's some lead providers that have done that in the past, and I know a lot of our clients are telling me how frustrated they were from that, because if you put in there you're willing to pay $100 for a lead, and then Bob comes in there and says, "Hey, I'm willing to pay $200," then you have to come back and say, "Hey, I'm willing to pay $225." I mean, the cost per lead can get astronomical in this arena, as I'm sure you guys know if you've ever done a pay per lead model. It can be, I mean, 4 or 5. I've seen $750. I mean, some of you might, Miami, you can pay $1,000, $1,250 to a plumber for a lead, right? I mean, it can get crazy. So this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I think this is still in beta. So I don't think this has been rolled out across the country yet, but you might see this in your market if you're in some of the larger cities. But some of the feedback we've gotten on it, I mean, it can be a cheaper, cost per lead versus PPC. It can be a higher quality lead than Home Advisor, because Home Advisor, I think they might offer exclusive leads. You just got to pay more for them, but they're bare bones services, shared leads. So if you get that lead, you're paying them, but 4 other guys got the same lead, right? And what I'm hearing is a lot of times the people aren't even answering the phone because they're getting hounded by like 8 companies at once, and they just get pissed off, and they're not even answering the call. But you still get some price shoppers. You have to follow up quickly, but I mean, that's just business. I mean, you gotta, once you answer the call, I mean, you gotta sell a little bit. I mean, yeah, some of these water damage jobs are home runs, easy layups, but not all of them are. Like, sometimes you might just sell a little bit. But in the water damage world, if it's still $80 to $130 in your market for a good water damage lead, I'd do it all day long. Like, it probably won't. Well, and you already see Google's already changed to a bidding system. So I can promise you, if they roll that out nationwide, it's it'll jump to 2, 3, 4, 500 quickly. Is my guess, based on what I've seen in the pay per lead world, and just in the pay per click world, right? Like, it's just gotten more expensive over time. That's just the hand we've been dealt that we got to deal with, right? So the same thing's probably about to happen with this, unfortunately. But hey, like I said, if you put in $1, like I mentioned earlier, and get 2 back, like, why in the world would you not do it? I mean, as long as the ROI is there, I'd be full throttle on it. So, if you're a client of ours and you're on here and you don't have this going yet, get with your account manager. We'll look into your area and see. We can kind of help you get this set up. A lot of it you'll have to, I mean, as far as the licenses and background checks, you guys are going to kind of do that. But we can help you kind of get the ball rolling. And once you have it set up, we can kind of get in there too, make sure it's optimized correctly. But yeah, so start working on getting that filled out. Get your background checks put into place. I definitely recommend you guys having this as one of your lead sources in 2021. It's not. I haven't heard it's going to be. I haven't had a client yet or a company yet I've talked to say that, like, oh my God, we're killing it from local service ads. It's all we're doing. Like, but a lot of people are saying they're getting some good leads from it. A few here and there. So why not, right? If you can get the ROI from it, why not put it in place? So just kind of this. I've been running through this pretty quickly, but again, this will be in a resource too that I'm going to give you guys, but just think about all these different things you guys can do next year to get better results online and to hit that revenue target for your company, whatever that may be. This stuff works. I mean, it's working better and better as time goes on, to be honest, because once you start doing this stuff, you can build the authority of your site, you can build your presence, and then it kind of just spirals from there, right? And it's I don't know if we have any Serve Pros on here, but look what Serve Pro's been doing for 50 plus years. I mean, they're, from a marketing perspective at the corporate level, like, they've I'm sure all y'all, if you're not a Serve Pro, you have to compete against them, right? And if you are Serve Pro on here, what your corporate has done over the, I mean, they've been putting millions into it for 50 plus years. Like most people know what Serve Pro is, right? They've built the brand recognition. But the good thing is, even if you're just getting started, or you in your local market, it's not hard to get to that level. It takes a little time, but if you have a comprehensive approach, you can you can build brand awareness in your local market, comparatively to what ServPro's done on a national level, right? Like now they're sponsoring college football games. I mean, they're taking it to a whole nother level. But I'm just talking about, more specifically from an online perspective and strategy. So, I'm not going to run through all the, different rankings, this and that, but I do like to show that, like, here's just a few, here's a couple clients that, they're getting 100 plus calls every month all year. I mean, like, so as long as their website doesn't go down and their marketing doesn't go down, they're going to be getting 100 plus calls a month every month because they've invested and put the time in. Like, you can't start out here, but they've put in the time and they have a comprehensive approach. And I mean, and honestly, like some of it, they're not even doing, like, one of these clients, they have PPC from another company, right? So this is just like SEO and Google My Business, because they already had, their neighbor or somebody was already doing PPC, which is fine, right? But like, because some of you guys might be getting 100 calls a month already, and they're like, oh, that's not very many, right? We've seen that in some of the bigger markets, but like, this is just to show like the potentials out there. I mean, this is just internet leads, right? From Google My Business, SEO, organic. They're out there, right? So I just recommend you guys have a comprehensive approach and hit it from all angles in 2021, so you can kind of grow and get to the next level. Now I do have this checklist. Let me get you this. Yeah, Vincent, I've seen Vincent was just making a comment about 3 to 4x my money. Yeah, no, I mean it's definitely possible. Like I said, I mean we've had a client, one phone call, 6-figure job, that helps with that 3 to 4x investment over time. It just depends on your current situation. Sometimes it takes a little more time to get to that ROI than others, right? And it depends on the time of year, the market. There's a lot of variables, but it's definitely possible. We've definitely seen it. All right, so here's in the chat, there's a link to the checklist. That you guys can, let's see, might even be able to. Well, I'm not going to go through it too much because we've already, we've been going for a little over an hour now. But this if you guys want to do a deeper dive on some of the stuff we talked about today and kind of go into a deeper dive of some of these elements on here, then go through this checklist. You can kind of do an audit on yourself on what you guys are currently doing right and what you're not. Yeah, no problem, Vincent. Yeah, this will help. I think this guys will hopefully help you guys out a lot in 2021. And then again on the worksheet, I'll show you guys real quick too. So you can play with these numbers on reverse engineering. You can look at your online, offline. You can play with your average cost per lead source. This is on that sheet I shared with you earlier. I even made like a little calendar for you guys on a month-to-month basis so you can target, by month, you could go after different things for your PPC, your SEO, your social. If you're doing some other things, there's some columns here to where you can add them in. And this way you guys kind of have a roadmap on, what you want to attack next year and when you want to attack it. So you guys can kind of edit this and play with it. I've even got a special offer. So like, take this to the next level, and you want to talk about something that'll help with conversions. Like, I know it's not as common in our industry as far as coupons. A lot of times you see it with like lawn care and plumbers and heating and air, right? Like, $200 off new HVAC install. We see that kind of stuff, but we've tested this with some of our clients and seen some pretty good, because people love saving money, right? I mean, we're humans. So I'd recommend playing with some of these options to drive conversions in some of your marketing. Um, are you guys able to get that checklist or no? Hey, Colleen, on the worksheet or the checklist? All right. Yeah, hang on a second. Let's see. Oh, all right. Well, I was just about to. Well, here, I'll put this in here. I don't. If anybody was having a problem with the worksheet earlier, try that link. Um, okay. All these permissions these days and security. I can't keep track of it, and they're always updating it on us too, right? So it makes it even more fun. But all right, so we ran through this stuff. You guys have the checklist, you've got the worksheet, and I gave you the workbook. So you've got several resources put together with you. You could spend, like I said, you could probably spend a half day really mapping this stuff out. Probably even a full day if you want to do the whole year. But really, we're all busy in the grind, right? The day to day, just this and that. I think it's important to really take a step back and do an audit of kind of 2021 and kind of have a planning period for 2020 and audit, and then a planning period for 2021. And I'd make sure it's whatever your plan is. Obviously, we all had to adapt this year with COVID and all that. I mean, I guess you want to make sure you have a strategy too, that where you can bob and weave if needed. Because I mean, hopefully we don't run across anything like this again. But who knows these days? So just be prepared to adapt as needed with whatever your plan is. So be flexible in your approach. Um, but if I was you, like I said, there's probably about 45 different things you guys could really work on, especially if you go through the initiatives on the checklist. I would pick three things here that you maybe want to implement. Maybe in Q1 of 2021, or for some of you, you got more help and more people in the office to help you get some of this done, or you have a marketing company to help you get this done. You might be able to get them done faster. Maybe you could do three big initiatives in January, right? But I would pick three big action items that you kind of want to start with and then build on there, right? I wouldn't come up with a list of 30 things right out the gate. So takeaways. If you guys have any takeaways, you can put them in the chat, or just think about putting them on your notepad. Just take some time to reflect on what because we've covered a lot, right? We've kind of run through 2021 goals. We've talked about three fundamentals to marketing from a higher level. We've talked about websites. We've talked about different marketing channels. Some things to be aware of in 2021, especially the bidding system in Google local service ads. And then we've kind of built a plan. We kind of we scratched the surface on it, but I'd really recommend going through there's this goes even deeper in the workbook I provided for you guys, the worksheet and the checklist. You can I'd kind of pull all those up and kind of work through it if you really want to do a deep dive. Like I said, I'm not trying to make this 14 hours long. I'm trying to keep it short and sweet. That way you guys can get back to it or spending time with your family if you're already doing that for the holidays. So I gave you the checklist, so you should have that. I think just want to make sure you guys have all the resources. Now, if for some of you, if you don't, some of you hope maybe you can take this checklist and hit the ground running and get it done. What I've found is a lot of restoration companies, they're like, look, Jamie, I don't have time to do this. Like, can you do it for us and just roll with it? And obviously that's why we exist, right? So if you do want to schedule a call with me to where we can look at your specific website, rankings, your territory, your service area, because they all vary. Give our office a call, and we'll get a time set up. Or you can go to our website and click schedule a call. I'll actually put the link in here too, just in case you guys do want to set up. And I think I forgot to block out Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. So I love you guys, but I don't love you that much. Probably won't take the call on that. So just don't book it for Christmas Eve. I mean, if you do, we'll get it rescheduled. I'm not gonna leave you hanging. But if you do want our help, or to kind of us to take a look at what you're doing right, maybe where, like I said, most of the guys are just like, Jamie, I know I need to do this. I just don't have the time. I got a business to run. Again, that's why we exist, to take all this off your plate, and just do it for you. And that way, it's getting done right, and we just run with it. But some of you, if you can get it done, more power to you. I mean, I gave you some awesome resources today. I think that'll help you get it done, right? I basically gave you the roadmap. So that's pretty much all I got. Hopefully you guys got some value out of this. We've been going, man, almost an hour and 20 minutes. Well, I know we had some little mishaps in the beginning, so. But yeah, let me pull this over. Yeah, no problem. You're welcome. Let me see. Yeah, that's a good question, Jesse. I think it depends on what level. Like if you're getting 300 calls a month, then I would maybe recommend getting more granular, because you're going to have some tracking in place to figure out where the calls are coming from. And you're not going to be able to get it because sometimes, well, I'll give you an example. Like, so we're testing some Facebook ads for a client, but this guy got a job from Google My Business, because and the only reason I know this is because we heard it on the call recording. He's like, hey, I saw your Facebook ad, but he decided to wait a day, and then he called him from Google. But because we have the call tracking in place, we were able to figure out. We were like, oh, interesting. This guy initially heard about the company from a Facebook ad, but decided to make the call. He didn't take action on the Facebook ad. He decided to take action on Google the next day. So I would do it from a higher level, but yeah, like if you really want to get granular, you can, take in all your marketing fees. And I mean, if you're doing, it depends on what you're doing, right? But let's say you were just doing internet marketing. Well, you can take the total that you're paying the marketing company and Google if you're doing PPC, and then they're going to put, hopefully, whoever you're working with has call tracking in place. You can take the number of jobs, or take that total amount divided by, well, the number of leads to get the cost per lead. And then to get the cost per job, you'd have to be tracking in your system like what turned into an actual job. I mean, there has to be some collaboration there if you really want to get down into the numbers, because I mean, because we can hear a good lead, but if the guy, shows up to the job and doesn't close it, like we can't hear that part of it, right? So there's some collaboration involved, but I don't know if that makes sense or not, but hopefully that helped clarify. But I would start higher level, and then as you go, maybe try to drill it down. Because if you do, like we set up different tracking numbers from different sources, so we can kind of figure out like, all right, PPC, money spent, this is how many leads. Then we have a cost per lead for PPC because we track it to that level. But a lot of people that before they come to us, they don't really have it broken down like that, so they're not going to be able to figure that out at first. So hopefully that makes sense. But I mean, the interesting thing is once you start, it's kind of, I mean, it tells a story really once you really start tracking this stuff, and you can kind of see where you're spending the calls. But yeah, I mean, I would track it as best you can, because the whole point of all this is you want whatever's working, you want to do more of, right? That's what we want to do. So that's why I think the more granular you can do it, the better. Yeah, Vincent. Yeah, I do. I mean, they vary so much though. Just book a call on that link, and then I can kind of show you. We'll take a look at what you're doing, and then maybe if you want our help, we can discuss that. It just varies because we kind of do have some things packaged up, but our goal is to help you, right, with whatever you need, so we can kind of break that, piecemeal it a little bit. Because like I said, some people come to us and they have half of this figured out, but the other half they have no idea what to do. Yeah, Jesse, that does. You're right. I don't. Yeah, I don't. I played basketball growing up, so I don't know if you meant to call it an assist. Um, but yeah, you're exactly right, and that's why I think it's hard to, like, sometimes even for us to show our worth, because um, it could be an assist, like just because you could do a blog post, for example, and then somebody goes to that post, and then they go over to your Facebook, then they go back to your Google reviews, and then maybe they'll just, like, if we're not doing social media for you, they go back to the Facebook page and they just sit down to do a Facebook Messenger chat, right? Like we can track we set up Google Analytics and the web traffic and all that, but following that lead all the way through sometimes can be a little bit difficult. But that's kind of why, like, that's more of the tracking perspective. But a lot of times that's why we recommend doing the comprehensive approach, because it's if you're any fisherman, like the more poles you put in the water, I mean, the more fish you're going to catch, right? It's just, so that's why if you're doing the SEO, the Google My Business, the paid ads, you're casting a bigger net, putting more poles in the water. You're going to increase I mean, not only are you going to increase your brand awareness, but you're going to increase the odds of you getting in front of somebody when they have an issue. When their house floods, you want to be the one at the top to increase your chances of getting that business. And the cool thing is, a lot of it builds on itself. Like, starting out is always the hardest part. But like I showed you guys, those those couple clients now, like they'll forever, well, not forever, unless Google decides just to disappear, which I think we all know that's not happening. And it might happen any day soon. Like, because they put in the time and money into it, they're going to be getting 100 plus calls every month until Google goes away. So I mean, they put in the time and money on building that comprehensive approach. And now, our job is to kind of reassess with them too. Like, hey, how can we scale this up? Like, I want you guys getting 200 calls a month now, not 100, right? I mean, that's our job, is to help them grow. But yeah, you're right. Actions and intent vary as well. Good point. Cool. All right. we're going on about an hour and a half. Anybody got any other questions I can try to help, answer while I'm on here? I can real quick. But yeah, use that link if you do want to, if you want to hop on a call with me and look at your particular situation. Book a call on that page and schedule a time that works for you, and we can chat and see maybe how we can help you guys grow in 2021 and beyond. Cool. Going once, going twice. Hope you guys got some value out of today. Hope you're able to download those workbooks and checklist. I think you could really map some things out. We can do that. Yeah, looks like Vince is a business coach too. If you need some help with some of the business aspect, and